Welcome back to another episode of my weekly recap of games. I'm Adrian Sanders for Sanders Games, and I'm going to go over what I've done in the past week. It is late on Monday, but technically the week ends for me whenever I make this video. So the first game I did was shoot Up Multibullet. The point of this was in my previous games with bullets, I was just doing one bullet at a time. Now I allow for repetitive shots at the spacebar, so the user isn't just stuck with one bullet at a time like that. It's very boring, and that's going to help with, if there's lots of enemies on screen, you want to give the user an option as far as, well, I need more bullets, and also limited how many bullets are on screen at once. Right about here. Add to the amount of shots as long as it's less than 5 for the size on screen at once. And in order to do that, I needed to make a laser shot class. So instead of just one bullet, I need to make a class of it, so I can have a array list of bullets. And somewhere, I forget, it's been a while, but somewhere in here, when the bullet goes off screen, it's ready to be removed. There it is. Ready to be removed, and then it goes to the array list and removes it. So now I have this nice feature. The point of the game is to just shoot 30 times instead of 5, because it's a lot easier to do that with more than one bullet at a time. And I use this in a later example, and you will see it soon. Alright, this game is called Point, Shoot, Boom, Mouse. And I think I'm getting a little bit bored with the game naming, but anyway. So now this is building on the rotational axis type games I've been doing. Now it will face wherever my mouse cursor is. So I replace the mouse cursor with a image. I just made this little target image in Photoshop. So this makes aiming so much easier, and you don't have to be exact as long as it's on the same path, and you can kind of eyeball it as a user. And I missed that, even though it's point blank. But you can eyeball it. I had to change the menu options, so it's just Q to go back to the menu, S to start, but it's the same thing, and this makes the controls a whole lot easier. But I haven't done anything further with this. I can make, and I have another example about this later, but I can make enemies spawn off screen, and you can repeatedly shoot. But the difficulty will lie within whether or not I want to keep this mouse controlled or arrow key controlled, and either way will make a good game. It's just a matter of, I guess the creator's preference. So I'll be playing around with that later on. Okay, this is another game This is another type of functionality, I guess, that I turned into a game, and I apparently misspelled the Juggler. This game is supposed to be called Juggler. I was playing with this idea back in May, so all I'm doing here is I wanted to spawn things on screen at certain time intervals. So just to talk about this game, I have a timer going on, and it's just balls will randomly spawn on screen. Apparently they keep spawning after the game's over. Anyway, they spawn on screen and then they start moving, and they just start increasing. So the whole point of this game is for the user to try to just bounce them. If they miss, the balls will go off screen and then they'll disappear. So again, I had a ball, and then I made an array list of ball objects, and when they go off the bottom of the screen, they not only are stopped being drawn, I don't think that's proper grammar, but they're not drawn anymore, and they're removed from the array list here. And as far as the timer is concerned, if if I can find it, if I can remember how I did this. Okay, so I have this function called create balls. That's only called, let's see, that's called every time yeah, it's called in draw because the timer needs to be running. I'm using millis for milliseconds. I have a timer object, and I forget how this works, but I looked it up before. But it's just saying, so this 2000 is going to be every 2 seconds, add a new ball object, and then I'm just putting it at a random location on the x-axis, and they all start in the middle of the screen, and they start bouncing. Where do they start bouncing? Up. They start bouncing up, and the user just has to get underneath it and I guess catch them, so to speak. So this game is pretty interesting. I tried, and I wanted to have it to where if the player misses a ball, their points would be reduced. But the logic said, well, as long as the ball was underneath the screen, subtract 1 point from the score, and it was running out of control into the negative numbers. So I left that alone. If anyone has any ideas on that, they can share. But that is that game. Okay, so this is going to be actually the last game I made in processing. I'll talk about that later. This game is called Asteroid Belt. So I put together, first off, a couple of the ideas I had, one of which was this multiple bullet shooting thing. And as you see, the other part, so I have multiple bullets as a class. The other part was this asteroid class. Now, right now the asteroids are just circles, large brown circles, and they just fall. Instead of using a timer object to spawn them randomly, I guess I could have done that, but what I did was just I wanted to have them all clumped together, mated once, and they received random locations above the screen's field of vision. So it's just asteroid count, so whatever number I wanted, I put it at 50. I just said I want 50 asteroids, put it above the screen, and make them at random locations. So random locations across, and any location that's between negative 1000, which is up on the y-axis, and then 0, which is the top of the screen, just make them. So they will just fall and start. So now the multiple bullets come in handy. Blah blah blah. When all the asteroids fall off, the game is over. So there's no number requirement. It's just you have however long it takes the asteroids to all fall down to shoot as many as you can. And I thought about, I just didn't get to having the user have a penalty when they get hit, like lives and stuff. But from this example, as you can see, that many asteroids would make the user get hit a lot. So I didn't worry about it for now. I'll probably play with that later, and that's kind of cool. It can lead to a lot of flying through games. Actually, it reminds me of this game I used to play, Tyran. If anybody remembers that, it was for the PC, but whatever. I will build upon it later. Now, as I said, that was the end of my processing games because I'm going to be moving over to HTML5, but mostly JavaScript. The HTML5 pretty much just means I'm making an HTML file and I just write all the game code in JavaScript. And I'm getting some help with Chris DeLeon with that, so that's kind of cool. Within the next week, I suppose, I'm going to be spending quite a bit of time. I guess my progress is going to be limited because I'm going to have to be learning JavaScript as I go along. I'm going to try to do the same format I've been doing with doing small projects and figuring it out as I go along. But it's a little steeper learning curve now. So on top of figuring out how to make the game I want, I have to figure out how to do what I've been doing in JavaScript. So I'm probably either going to cover what I've already made as far as the small games, or I will just build and make some newer stuff as I figure it out. But I'm going to just keep it informal in the same format I've been doing it. So these next two examples, oh, this is very fast. Well, this is just, I guess, step one scratch of the tennis game that Chris DeLeon has in his book, except now is going to be in HTML5 form. So that's very basic right now. I haven't done anything aside from this as far as the detail I had in the earlier processing covers I had. So I would like to do that later on. And from scratch, I made the beginnings of, this is definitely not a complete game, but the beginnings of what I was doing earlier with end to end. So this should be the same thing when I finish it. Okay, it goes off screen. Should be the same thing when I finish it, except now it's just not done. But I just wanted to let you guys know what I'm working on. So my progress may be a little bit slower, but it really shouldn't take too long if I'm going slowly. I would have liked to have these two HTML5 examples completed, but I was out of town this weekend and I was pretty much working on both of these today, so it's no big deal. It was half learning the language and half figuring out how to make these. So hopefully next week I'll have a lot more, and I want to stick in HTML5 from here on out just to get used to a different language, and it's going to be a lot easier to use for, I actually have a website. It'll be easier to throw everything I make in there and have people actually play instead of just making videos. That's not to say I'm going to stop making videos. I'm going to have these videos so people don't have to play them all, and I'll also have them available on my site in the future. So that's what I have in store in the future. Thank you for watching, and I will talk to you all later. Bye-bye.